Okay. Now, also, you mentioned about giving more powers to the state. So do you think the Arizona law is wrong for taking the step out, or should we have gone about it in a different way?
I think the Arizona situation is the kind of thing that happens when the policy from Washington is fouled up, but Washington insists that everyone has to march to the tune it's calling. I mean, we have a really lousy immigration policy out of Washington. I think the people in Washington largely know that it's a really lousy immigration policy, and so they stopped enforcing it. But they should have fixed it. If instead of fixing it, you just stop enforcing, then you wind up with all kinds of terrible things that you can't ask the people of Arizona to put up with.
Right.
And that's, I think, where we got into a problem with Arizona. I don't think that laws like the Arizona law should be necessary, but I also don't think that they should be a big problem if we had an immigration policy out of Washington that made sense.
Now, I want to talk to you about the government and giving local banks money. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the Congress has went ahead and allowed money to be sent to the local banks.
Yeah.
Should they be more so involved when lending out money to small businesses?
Now, I would say far less involved. The problem with this is if the government's never going to get us out of this by injecting money into the economy in spot A that they siphoned out of spot B.
Right.
That's just the government picking winners and losers. That doesn't make anybody more, well, it makes the winners more prosperous,
right,
but it doesn't help us as a nation. It doesn't help us get out of this. The other thing is, the banks actually have plenty of money to lend. That's why you can't earn any interest on your savings account.
Right.
They don't need more money to lend. What they need are good, solid business proposals. And it's very hard to think that we're going to get better business proposals anytime soon if the federal government can't get over its sort of compulsive meddling with minute economic outcomes. We need to understand that there's a reason why the free market has outperformed every other economic system. It's not that it's perfect. It's not that everything it does is unchallengeable. It's that it's the best system we've found. And it's a very strong machine, but you can break it if you fiddle with it too much.
Okay, now just to change gears just a little bit here. Now, we know that our American involvement with the war of Iraq is officially over. We just done that in the last couple of weeks. What are your ideas with our involvement in Afghanistan?
I think Afghanistan is now at the point where we should declare victory and go home, as was once said about Vietnam. I very reluctantly supported our invasion of Afghanistan because it was a direct response to the attacks of September 11th. We knew where Osama bin Laden was. We asked for him to be turned over. The country refused. That made the country complicit in the attacks. But the kind of campaign that we needed very quickly changed to a nation-building campaign. And that's where everything went off the rails. For us to build our own nation took maybe a conservative estimate 600 years, if you count from, say, the time of Magna Carta. It's an incredibly long and involved cultural development. The English Civil Wars contributed. The religious wars in Europe all contributed. It took a lot for us to build the kind of society that resorts to violence as a way of settling political disputes as sort of off limits. It was not reasonable for anyone to think that we could go into Iraq or Afghanistan and build that kind of culture in even a generation. And of course, a generation is even far longer than a war mentality is sustainable. And I think the consequence has been bad. It's been bad for those countries. It's been tragic for the many families who've lost loved ones on both sides of the conflict. And it's been bad for our civil liberties here in the United States. We need to trim back a lot of the excesses of post 9/11 government and get back to liberty. Liberty makes us more secure. Liberty and a genuine policy of respecting other people's liberty will make this country safer.
All right, with a lot of people tightening their grips on their wallet, energy efficiency has become one of the biggest things in the last few days, not days, but last few years. What are your ideas on giving more of a tax break for people who want to be more energy efficient and create their own power?
I'm against that stuff. I think those are bad ideas. I don't think that they work. So, I mean, you remember the tax credit for hybrids, right? And I went in and I thought about buying a hybrid, and the salesman at the car dealership told me flat out, he said, look, it's a $3,000 tax credit. You know what that did? It raised the price of the hybrid by $3,000. So that tax credit, that just went straight to the auto to the auto dealers and the auto manufacturers. It didn't help people buy more hybrids. Look at the policy that we have of trying to subsidize home mortgages. Look how well that worked out. I'm against all that kind of monkeying around with the economy. And the flip side of it is not just that the government always makes things worse, it's that we don't need it. Does anybody think that there's not enough incentive out there right now for people to save on their energy bills? I know I try and save on my energy bills because it's expensive. You know, I just bought a car, and it was important to me that the car ran on regular gas rather than premium, because there's 10% of your fuel costs, right? I bought the most fuel efficient model that I could find. So there are plenty of reasons already out there why private people will do the right thing on energy efficiency. Green jobs, clean energy technology. Does anybody think that there aren't people out there with plenty of economic incentive to work on cracking the nut of getting us off fossil fuel? I mean, the person who solves that problem and brings it to market is going to make a ton of money, and we will gladly pay it for the tremendous contribution that he or she will have made to better our lives. So this is a classic example where if I want to invest in some research and development thing, I'll go do it myself. I don't want to get a bunch of grants going to some congressman's pal where he just takes all of our money and says, "Oh, I think this guy's a good guy. Let's support his business." That's not the way it works.
Well, Mr. Grannis, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Now, for more information on Mr. Mark Grannis, please visit his website at grannisforcongress.org or visit our website onthehillmedia.com.